If you're like me, you are obsessed with ARCS. You can't stop thinking about it. You play it, you want to play it again. You're not playing it, you're thinking about it. You're trying to figure out new strategies, thinking about lore cards, leader cards, and if you're into the campaign, you're thinking about those fates. You are obsessed with it, you're looking for content for it, and there's not enough content out there. You've listened to all the podcasts that exist, you've watched the videos, the leader guides, you've done all these things, and you just want more content. Well, that's what I'm here for. Today, I'm gonna be telling you my top 5 leaders and lore combos in ARCS. Now, let me go ahead and say, this is not a strategy video. This is not telling you how to play these, although I'll get into some strategies. This is not a how to play video. This is not a tier list video. I'm not telling you these are the best leaders and the best lore cards. These are what I have enjoyed playing. My favorite leader and lore combos so far. And that's it. This is not saying these are the best ones. So, without further ado, I'm gonna start with my number 5. My number 5 leader is going to be the Anarchist. The Anarchist is decentralized. In setup, you scrap the 2 leftmost cities from your player board. He's also inspiring. In systems with loyal ships, you may tax rival cities, ignoring control. And you may tax empty building slots like loyal cities. He's also principled. You cannot tax loyal cities. Remember, if you have no buildings on the map, rivals can raid your ships. Right out the gate, scrap means remove from the board and remove from the game, put them in the box. You are down 2 cities for the entire game. That opens up a lot of resource slots so that you can have more resources to spend on more actions or have for more of the ambitions. You also can tax rival cities with 1 ship, even if they have the control of that system. That is a big rule break right there. That, you know, getting captives is not easy. So having this advantage to try and get captives and to be able to get resources that you don't already provide with your cities is pretty big. You also can tax any open building slots like their loyal cities. So anywhere there are open building slots in any systems, you can tax them. You don't even have to be there. You just tax them and you get that resource. But you cannot tax loyal cities and the setup. You start with a secret and you start with a weapons. And then in the A slot, you start with 4 ships. In the B slot, you start with 3 ships. In the C slot, you start with 2 ships. So you start with no starports. You start with no cities. That is huge. You start with nothing on the board. So why do I like playing this character? Number 1, I like playing this leader because it kind of makes you play and interact with ARCS, the base game, in a way that you don't usually interact with the game. You are doing something vastly different than you do in normal ARCS. I think I may have called it a secret. The relic. You start with a relic and a weapon. Those are not very good. The weapon, you aren't really wanting to go out and fight because you have no buildings so you'd be able to regenerate your ships. You don't really have incentive to try and go control someone else's city since you already don't need to have control to tax their cities. So the weapon is pretty useless. The relic you can potentially use if you get to start the game in a area with psionics, tax it, and then try and do the psionic secure combo early enough to try and secure something, but it's also not great. One of the strategies that you can kind of try and take here is, since you're starting with 2 less cities, you can go really hard in trying to build your cities as early as possible so that you can get the bonus points for winning ambitions. Now, building cities can be kind of give or take here, because every building slot that you cover up is saying I can no longer tax that resource. So it can be kind of detrimental to you. So keep that in mind, and I'll talk about that again when I talk about the lore card I've picked to combo here. And then another thing to keep in mind is you should be sparing with the way you're sending out that 1 ship to start taxing people. I think that is a good way to sneak in getting extra captives at the final hour. But if you're sending in 1 ship constantly to these different areas, it's easy to kind of just pop pop off, do some pop shots and kill that ship and take it as a free trophy basically. You gotta be strategic with when you're sending in your one ship to these different rival cities to try and tax them and get captives. Just keep that in mind. I picked Cloud Cities for the lower card on this leader. So why did I pick Cloud Cities? Well, it says you build cities on planets outside their building slots, max 1 per planet. This costs 1 resource of the planet type. So if you build outside of the building slots, especially the ones that you start on early, since they don't already have building slots, or they aren't already filled with buildings because you have none, you can start building on the outside of that city and still keep that slot open so that you can tax it like it is a loyal city. So I think Cloud Cities early is pretty interesting, being able to build outside of those building slots, keep them open so you can still tax, and it helps you with early building out your 3 cities, building out your early cities so that you can get to that threshold of getting extra points when you do win ambition. So I think this is kind of an interesting combo to play with the Anarchist. So I like the combo of Cloud Cities with the Anarchist because I think it's just super interesting and works pretty well. So that is my number 5 in my top 5 of leader lore combos. Number 4, people are gonna roast me for this one because it is not one that people think is very good, maybe C tier. That's gonna be the Rebel. Why do I like the Rebel? Well, let's read off what the card does. The Rebel, committed. In battle, you collect 2 extra dice. Disorganized. You cannot move more than 2 ships at a time. You start with a supply, a weapon, and then in the A slot, you start with a starport, 4 ships. In the B slot, you start with 4 ships. And then in the C slot, you start with 2 ships. So I think this is the leader that starts with the most ships on the board. In the first 2 slots, you start with 4. That's pretty big. That's already 2 sets of your kind of killing parties that you're sending out to start killing ships so that you can get trophies and guarantee winning the Warlord whenever that gets declared. Now, there's a big gap here. So, well, there's not that big of a gap. These are both very polarizing. Collecting 2 extra battle dice is a pretty big buff. Only moving 2 ships is a pretty big nerf. So it's really interesting how this character plays out. I also think that something about the simplicity of this character is very appealing as well. So the Anarchist is very different, plays the game very differently, you approach the game very differently. The Rebel, you don't approach that much differently. You still play the rest of the game kind of exactly as you would in base ARCS without leaders and lore, except the Rebel gives you a kind of this weird little niche where you get to send out 2, but you also get to roll extra dice. It's not game changing. I think it's very interesting, but I don't think it's like the Anarchist where it's completely changing your thought process on how to play the game. There is a lot of math online that you can find. I'm not gonna express to you all the math that is online with percentages of rolling the different dice. All I'm gonna say is when you play the Rebel and you send out 2 ships, you're rolling 4 of the red attack dice every time. Some people are like, roll 3 and roll 1 blue. No, I'm rolling 4 reds. And the reason I don't care is because the lore card I picked for the Rebel is gonna be Signal Breakers. Signal Breakers says, when attacking in battle, if all attacking ships are fresh at the start of the battle, you ignore 1 intercept. So you're already only sending 2 ships. And you want them to be fresh ships. Go ahead and tell you that right now. So you're always gonna have that online, and ignoring an intercept can keep you from basically losing your entire fleet that you are sending out to roll 4 dice and keep them alive. So I really like this combo together. I think the Rebel is really interesting. He starts with a weapon so that you can already right off the bat go somewhere, start killing people, declare the Warlord early because you want to get out there, you want to kill some people. This is not a raiding dude. You can go and raid like normal, that's fine. If you have more ships, that's even better. But don't expect to send in 2 ships, be able to roll raid dice, and collect a bunch of stuff. That's not going to happen. In fact, you're probably just going to kill your own dudes, or you're going to end up hitting a city and causing outrage when you don't want to. This is not a raiding person. This is go out there, play the game like normal, but also kill a lot of ships. And the Rebel is my number 4. I'm gonna cut in here real quick and just say that if you're enjoying this and you're a fan of ARCS, please let me know what kind of content you would like to see. There's not a ton of content for ARCS out there. I thought this one would be a fun one to start with, but if there's specific content you would like about ARCS, let me know in the comments and I'll try to make something like that. Subscribe, leave a like. Thank you guys so much, and let's continue. Number 3 leader lore combo for me. It's a very interesting one. It is called the Archivist. The Archivist is learned. After setup, gain 2 extra lore cards. Draw 5 lore, keep 2, scrap the other 3, returning them to the box, and he's academic. When you're scoring Tycoon, gain no power for second place, and gain power for second place if you score first place. So you're not gonna be wanting to score Tycoon most of the time. You're kind of gonna just ignore that. But during setup, you have 2 relics. In A, you have a city and 3 ships. B, you have a city and 3 ships. And C, you have 2 ships. So you're starting with 2 cities on the board. That's plenty of taxing early. In addition to, you could go hard with building cities with this guy just like the Anarchist. You just build out all your cities and try to score the extra points for having all your cities out. One of the big reasons I like playing this character is because every time you play this dude, it's going to feel so much different because you're gonna have 3 unique lore cards. The odds of ever having the same 3 lore cards is not likely, especially like if you play the draft and you only see the Anarchist every so often. It's not gonna be likely you're playing with the same 3 lore cards. So you're basically playing with 3 different abilities every time you play the game, which I think is super cool. So I'm cheated on this one a little bit. I have what is probably the good 3 lore cards just to take. Like strategically, these are solid. We've got the Galactic Rifles. I mean, everyone wants to use Galactic Rifles. Galactic Rifles are great. And it says fire rifles, and you can use this as a battle pip. Like in a battle, choose a system to collect skirmish dice for fresh, loyal ships there. Choose a defender in adjacent system, roll the collected dice, and deal 1 hit to the defender per hit rolled. So you can basically, from an adjacent sector, shoot over to someone else and start killing their ships. I mean, without taking any damage back. That's just insane. I also did Tool Priests. Tool Priest is interesting because as a build, you can build 1 ship at any city you control. So that helps you get ships out. But yes, even rival cities you control. I think Tool Priest is interesting for this build because you start with no starports on the board. You could just play a no starport game and never use your never build starports and have the Tool Priest and just start building at cities. And the last one I picked was the Gate Ports. You can build starports on gates, max 1 per gate. When rival ships take a move into a gate you control with fresh loyal starport, capture 1 agent from that rival. So capturing agents when they go into your gates with starports, it's super strong. Captives are not easy to get, so the Tyrant is not an easy objective to win. But this helps you get there. So you can actually just go a Tyrant strategy plus maybe relics or something like that. So I think those 3 together seem pretty good. Now, the fun one is going to be the gate ports, which I already described, and then the gate stations, which is similar. You may build cities on gates, max 1 per gate. A gate city's type matches all cities in its cluster. And then living structure. So now you can, as a build pip, tax a loyal city, or as a repair pip, replace a loyal starport with a loyal city, or vice versa. You can build cities and starports in gates. Starports will get you captives. Cities will let you tax whatever resource you want that's attached to that gate. And the living structure lets you tax that loyal city for a build pip. I didn't say that. As a build pip, you can tax the loyal city. So this lets you tax your cities that are in gates. I think this is just a really cool circular combo. One that is kind of wild, but yeah. The Archivist, really interesting. I like this dude a lot. So that is my number 3 of leaders and lore combos. Number 2, probably what people think is the worst leader in ARCS, the Noble. The noble is connected. When you declare an ambition that's not declared, draw and secure the top card of the court deck. He's also influential. When you copy your pivot to influence, you may influence twice, but he's proud. When scoring, you only gain power if you get first place, not tied. You start with 2 psionics. In A sector, you start with a city and 3 ships. B sector, a starport and 3 ships. And C sector, start with 2 ships. Starting with 2 psionics is really interesting because you could just straight up try to go for the psionics route and see if you can win that ambition early. This dude, I understand why people think he's bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the best or anything like that. He's not the second best leader, definitely. But the noble is incredibly fun to play. So much fun and enjoyment out of playing this dude. There are insane games where you can have upwards of 10, 15 guild cards and have a bunch in the discard pile that you've chucked for the prelude actions. I think one of the benefits of playing this dude and getting so many guild cards is that you can freely just chuck them to get the one-time effects that kind of gives you extra resources throughout the game. And I don't mean like resources in terms of the different resources you can tax for. I'm talking about ships, actions that the cards give you when you do the prelude, and whatever, you know, just resources in general. It gives you action economy, resource economy. I think this dude is so much fun to play. Now, he is hard to win with because you have to win, and tying happens all the time. Now, I play mostly at 3-player, so Noble's a little bit better at 3 players than 4 players because there's one less person to tie with. But also, the lore card that I picked is Hidden Harbors. Now, the Noble is going to be playing a lot more defensively. Hidden Harbor says you always build ships fresh, and when defending in battle, the attacker cannot collect raid dice if you have fresh defending starport. So this helps keep people from being able to come into you and start just raiding you and taking everything so you can't score. That's one of the downsides of Noble altogether, is that people can team up on you to make sure you don't get first or you tie for first. Hidden Harbors helps you with that a little bit. So I like playing these two together to kind of play a defensive build, kind of your own little turtle, and just trying to do things that give you that gives you a good economy of actions and resources without spreading too far out to where people can just raid you and take everything from you. That is my number 2 leader and lore combo in ARCS. My number 1 is the Quartermaster. Quartermaster reads, resilient. After any battle with you, repair 1 loyal ship in the battle system per starport on the map you control, even rival ones. Greedy. In setup, place an agent on your material outrage slot. So you start with outrage and material. You start with a fuel, a weapon. In the A slot, you start with a starport and 4 ships. B slot's 3 ships, and C slot 2 ships. So starting with no cities on the board to tax can be brutal, but it is straight up telling you, you have a fuel, you have a weapon. You can, on turn 1 if you want, move and start attacking somebody. That's what I love about the Quartermaster. I also think that I've played a game where the Quartermaster creates this freaking fleet and just goes around and bullies people because he's able to keep healing his ships, like has a couple of starports with a couple of ships, and then he has like a fleet of 5 ships and just goes around bullying people. We can't damage him. He keeps healing his ships, all kinds of nonsense. I think that's just a really fun strategy, just going around and bullying people. And then when you pair it with mirror plating, the lore card I chose, mirror plating. When you defend in battle, add 1 intercept to the attacker's roll if they rolled any number of assault dice. So this is basically saying, I'm attacking you and healing back up. You are never going to attack me, because if you do, you're gonna be intercepted every time unless you're rolling blue dice. I think this combo is just ridiculous. It's so frustrating to play against sometimes. I think the Quartermaster is just kind of annoying to play against. His constant heal feels so strong sometimes. I'm not saying he's like the best. I just really enjoy playing this strategy, and I enjoy not having damaged ships. So the Quartermaster really resonates with me. I also like it going around and fighting and raiding and doing all kinds of nonsense. So I like messing with my opponents, and that's what the Quartermaster enables you to do. is more messing with your opponents and bullying them. So that is why the Quartermaster is my number one. All right, that is it for my top 5 leader and lore combos in ARCS. I hope you enjoyed watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and comment what your favorite ARCS leaders and lore combos are. But anyway, thank you so much, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Bye!